Right, stepping back away from sports and into the real world. Look, euthanasia, an issue which always draws extremely divided opinions, but one in which there has been quite significant shifting of the landscape in recent years globally. Still only a very few countries actively allow it. Many, though, have relaxed their laws, relaxed their approach to punishment for those involved in planning or facilitating assisted suicides. And the UK is one of those countries that is busy actively grappling with the issue right now. There is, in fact, a bill on the floor at the House of Lords asking for assisted suicide to be legalised in England and Wales. So it may have come as a surprise to many to hear that our own euthanasia activist, Dr Sean Davison, was arrested in the UK earlier this month. It was reported on News 24 this morning that Dr Davison was taken into custody after accompanying an English national to a clinic in Switzerland where she was helped to die in late June. And on the line to tell us a little bit more is the co-founder of Dignity SA, an organisation fighting for the right to die to be recognised in this country. Sean Davison, of course, an executive committee member of that organisation. Professor Willem Landman, good to have you with us. Good afternoon.
Hi, Pippa. Thanks.
What can you tell us about when this all happened and what has actually happened?
It happened about 2 weeks ago. I think it was on the 15th of this month of July. He obviously informed me, but he did not want to make it known to the public in South Africa or in the UK because he was forbidden to have any contact with anyone from the 80 Right to Die societies in the world. Now, of course, Dignity South Africa is one of those, and I'm sitting on the executive with him. So technically, he was not allowed to speak to me, and he could have broken his bail conditions.
Okay, so how did you actually find out about this then?
Well, I mean, they take away, all his communication, all his cell phones and the laptops and so on, but you can always, open another, email address. And I think he also found out that he got some indication that, they didn't want to be that unreasonable that he couldn't do normal business with, with me, for example, or with the Dignity South Africa, on which where he sits on the executive,
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, he had some information that cleared the way for him, but it's still precarious. It's not certain. He acts on legal advice, and you can't be certain what the authorities may make of that.
Yeah. So, Willem, what is his status right now? Is he on bail or released on his own recognizance? What has happened?
He was detained for 30 hours and interrogated for 6 hours. His house was searched, for a period of 8 hours by 10 policemen. He's out on bail. I think the court date is set for sometime in October. He resigned from Exit and he was on his way to actually head up Pegasus, which is the second, assisted dying clinic in after Dignitas in Switzerland. Yeah, so he was. Well, they actually appointed him head of Dignitas. He would have stayed and worked from England. There were some visa issues, which I think that's the reason why he decided to work in the UK, and he can't obviously pursue that option now. He's unemployed, and he cannot work for Pegasus.
Willem, do you suspect that his arrest is directly linked to the fact that this legislation is before the House of Lords asking for the issue to be debated and calling for assisted suicide to be legalised? Do you think perhaps he is a convenient person to be made a test case for what happens next?
I have no reason to believe that his arrest has anything to do with the legislation, the private members' bill at the House of Lords. I mean, that happens from time to time. It goes way back to Lord Joffe, who was the ex-South African in the Mandela trial, participated in that. There were several such attempts at private members' bills in the House of Lords in the past. So I think it's quite fortuitous. I think they've been watching him assisting people who were scared to accompany relatives to Switzerland, because the legal point is not clear, the legal position is not clear. So Sean always, the compassionate person he is, was, offered to help people and accompany them to Switzerland instead of the family members going with them. So I think they've been building up this case because they had very, very specific questions for him when they interrogated him. I don't think it has anything to do with the private members' bill in the House of Lords and the voluminous report that was actually tabled in the House of Commons earlier this year. And of course, then you have the jurisdictions inside the UK that are trying to legalize assisted dying. I'm not sure how it works legally, but they can do it. And it's the news I have is that it will definitely happen in Jersey, and it's quite likely to happen in the Isle of Man and in Scotland.
So there's a lot in flux as we speak. Willem, final question before we let you go. Several of our listeners asking the same question. Just to remind us, what is the current status here in South Africa? We have had some test cases before the courts that have moved the needle on this, but where are we at as we speak?
Well, quite briefly, it is a common law crime to assist somebody to die, either assisted suicide or euthanasia, which is performed by somebody else, mostly than a doctor. That it would be a common law crime of murder if you participate in such activities. The case that we're trying to bring to court, and we will bring to court early next year, is designed to do two things, and that is first to have assisted dying decriminalized. In other words, the blanket prohibition of assisted suicide, to have that declared unlawful and unconstitutional and therefore void. And then secondly, to ask Parliament or to ask the court to instruct Parliament to write a law that is appropriate for South Africa. So to do that, there has to be a number of things in place. Obviously evidence from other jurisdictions and case studies, etc., etc. So it's voluminous documentation that has to be presented to court and prepared, etc. But we will do it. We will definitely do it. It'll be early next year.
Professor Willem Landman, look forward to a follow-up conversation at that point. Thank you for your time this afternoon, speaking to us there about the arrest of Dr Sean Davison in the UK and Professor Landman being co-founder of Dignity SA.